I, female 33, and my husband, male 33, have 2 children, a 5-year-old girl, for this let's refer to her by her almost name Melody, and a 9-month-old boy, let's go by his almost name Thomas. Also, for background, I have PMDD, postpartum depression, and off-the-charts anxiety. I am actively working to manage and improve all 3. Tonight we went to my in-laws for dinner. Melody didn't want to sit at the table to eat, she wanted to play. When we told her she had to sit with us, she started complaining that she was cold. Let's be really clear, I do not ignore my children's needs. But she has been getting into power struggles with us big time lately, and we know when she's doing it. She's not getting her way, so she starts to get upset about something else. We could tell this was that. So my husband told her to sit and put a blanket over her, but still at the table. She's still complaining that she's cold, and she has to get a blanket in the living room and can't sit at the table. We tell her she's fine and to eat dinner, but at this point my mother-in-law gets involved. You know she really might be cold. I can turn on the fireplace. Why don't you let her curl up with a blanket in there, etc. We tell her it's just a power play, and after a few minutes back and forth with her, she says, "Thank you for explaining it to me. Without the context, it seemed really harsh." Context or not, we should not have to explain our parenting decisions, and you should not undermine us in front of our kids. Unfortunately, this is a common occurrence. My own mom has sometimes suggested we try something different with parenting, but she does it in private after the fact. She's even told me she doesn't agree with all of our choices, but she respects them because we are the parents. So anyways, let's jump to when it's time to leave. My husband has Thomas in his baby carrier. I have the diaper bag, leftovers, and both of our coffees. So our hands are full. My daughter and I walk out first, as my husband is wrapping up his goodbyes, and my daughter suddenly stops and says, "Wait, Mommy, Daddy had to carry me." I answered that Daddy can't because he has to carry the baby, and she immediately breaks down and starts throwing a fit. I firmly tell her to stand up and walk on the 2 feet God gave her, but then my mother-in-law pops her head out and goes, "Oh no, Melody, it's okay. Let's ask Grandpa to carry you." As I'm telling my mother-in-law, "No, Melody needs to walk." She is ignoring me and trying to get my father-in-law to carry Melody. I said again, "No, she needs to walk a few more times," but I'm ignored, so I just walk to the car. A moment later, my husband gets to the car with the kids, and Melody is still throwing a fit because she wanted her dad to carry her, not Grandpa. I told her to stop and get in the car. Once we were driving home, I told my husband that he needs to say something to his mom, and that she really needs to stay in her lane because what she's doing is undermining us as parents and triggering my anxiety. My husband said he would, but I need to remember that it'll be really uncomfortable for him to confront his mom. Now I feel like the jerk, but something needs to be said, and I don't know if it's better to handle it myself or have my husband do it. And now I'm stressed, but also dreading seeing my in-laws again, because I feel like crap and super anxious every time we leave. Second edit to clarify a few more things. 1. My daughter gets lots of attention. On Mondays, I get to walk her to her classroom and see her artwork, etc., and I make sure hubby is on lunch and takes the baby, so it's just the 2 of us. We go to the store. She loves Five Below, for mommy-daughter shopping trips once a week. When baby is napping, I make a point of spending time with her, even if it's just holding her while she plays her tablet. I let her do my makeup several times a week. Plus, there's all the invisible things that she won't appreciate until she's an adult, but is going on behind the scenes. Like being team mom to her cheer squad, like knowing she only likes ranch veggie straws, not normal ones, and buying them. Like making sure when she comes home from school, there's a bowl of popcorn and a juice box on the table for her. Buying her new clothes and specifically looking for unicorns and mermaids and purple, because that's what she likes. These are just a few examples. I am constantly prioritizing my family and trying to be a good mom. 2. If the 2 incidents listed below were all that happened, then I'd say I'm overreacting. But they aren't. They are the ones that stood out most. During the same visit, mother-in-law insistently argued with us about telling Melody she's going to Disney this weekend. My parents are taking her, and it's a surprise per their request. When we told her she cannot tell Melody, she pushed, "Well, let's watch a YouTube video about it. Let's talk about how fun it is there. Let's just prepare her that she is going on a trip." No. My parents want to surprise her and hubby and I agreed. It is not your place to say anything to her about it. I understand you're concerned, but no. I also had to have a debate with her over feeding the baby yogurt melts. No, they aren't a choking hazard, yes, I'm sure. No, please don't cut them up for him, like I said, not a choking hazard. No, I don't think they have live cultures, it's freeze-dried yogurt. Yes, I'm giving him more, it's fine. I don't care if they aren't super nutritious. Food at his age is about dexterity and textures, etc. He gets his nutrition from his bottles. Melody had a pink stripe in her hair just for fun, and I got treated to the unsolicited advice about how I need to remember to save stuff until she's older, that if I let her do everything young like coloring her hair and piercing her ears, she'll grow up wild. Okay. First, her ears aren't pierced yet, and I got mine done at 5. Second, the pink is just temp color. It's just for fun. This doesn't mean I'm going to let Melody grow up and have no rules or boundaries. There's more, but her constant commentary that leaves me justifying my parenting decisions is exhausting, and it's definitely driven by her anxiety. And it does sometimes come in the form of her undermining our parenting in front of our kids. 3. Hubby is on the same page as me. He vents to me about how he wished his mom would just let him parent his child. We were in agreement about Melody sitting at the table and walking to the car. From 5 p.m., 8 a.m., Monday, Friday, and all day Saturday and Sunday, we are a united front and parent together and enforce together. Monday, Friday, 8 a.m., 5 p.m., he's working, and I'm the stay-at-home mom, therefore what mom says goes. And if my daughter asks him for something, he works from home, he defers to me. Edit to clarify a couple things I'm reading in the comments. 1. I absolutely love my mother-in-law. She's a really good mother-in-law, but she's been overstepping as a grandma. I'm stressed about saying anything, but I'm also dreading going over for the same reason. 2. She is not being malicious. She also has anxiety that she doesn't do anything to treat, so she is constantly interjecting and projecting her anxiety on those around her. My husband says he fully believes his own anxiety is due to having it modeled so much growing up. When we visit, it's an onslaught of crossing boundaries and/or questioning our decisions because she's anxious, therefore increasing my anxiety with the constant commentary. 3. As an oldest sibling with only one sibling 10 years younger than me, I actually vividly remember what it was like to be the older sibling with a new baby on the scene. I go out of my way throughout the day to focus and prioritize her over the baby. I'll even say out loud, "Thomas, you're going to have to wait a minute. I'm with sister right now." The baby doesn't understand, but Melody does, and I'm saying it out loud for her benefit. 4. On the flip, my own mom never interjects in front of our kids. Occasionally, she will say something after the fact and in private, but she's even told me that sometimes she doesn't agree with mine or my husband's parenting decisions, but she respects them because we are the parents. So when you compare that mentality to my mother-in-law, I'm getting frustrated. Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1. Poor Melody. This new baby is a nightmare for her, her mother, and father. They are stressed. The baby is definitely not something she wanted. She wants attention, to feel important, and not be out of control with her life. My daughter was funny. She saw her friends and their new siblings and begged me not to have another kid. One friend, in particular, I guess, was not hesitant in saying she hated her brother. Comment 2. You're the idiot. I agreed with you until you described this situation that made you upset. Grandma did nothing wrong here, and I'm all for confronting rude people and smart-ass parents. Also, as others mentioned, your daughter might have problems with getting less attention, and these problems should be discovered, not ignored by saying, "God gave you feet." It's deeper than that. Now, for the update. So, it's been a couple of weeks since the whole incident with my mother-in-law, and let me tell you, it's been a ride. After that night, my husband and I had a long talk about boundaries and how we needed to address the situation with his mom. He was dreading the conversation, but we both knew it had to be done. The next day, he called his mom and they had a heart-to-heart. He explained how her actions were affecting us, especially with my anxiety, and how we needed her to trust our parenting decisions. It was tough for him, but to our surprise, she was really receptive. She apologized and admitted that her anxiety was getting the better of her and that she didn't mean to overstep. The following weekend, we went over for dinner again. I was nervous, but it turned out to be a pleasant surprise. My mother-in-law was on her best behavior. She didn't interfere with Melody or Thomas, and she even pulled me aside to apologize personally. She said she'd been reflecting on her behavior and realized she needed to work on managing her anxiety better. Meanwhile, Melody had her surprise trip to Disney with my parents, and she was over the moon. She came back full of stories and with a newfound appreciation for surprises. It was a good lesson for her in patience and excitement, and she's been a little more cooperative since then. As for Thomas, he's been growing like a Zaza and is as happy as can be. He's started to crawl, and it's been a joy watching him explore. Melody has been a great big sister, showing him her toys and being patient when he grabs at her hair. My husband and I have been working on our communication too. We've been making sure to check in with each other more often, especially when it comes to parenting decisions. It's helped us feel more like a team and less like we're just winging it. And me, I've been taking things one day at a time. I've been sticking to my therapy sessions and finding ways to manage my anxiety. It's not perfect, but I'm learning to cope better and to not let the little things get to me as much. Last weekend, we had a family day out, just the four of us. We went to the park, had a picnic, and played games. It was simple, but it was exactly what we needed, a day to reconnect and enjoy each other's company without any outside interference. In the end, these past 2 weeks have taught us a lot about setting boundaries, communication, and understanding. It's not always easy, and there are definitely bumps along the way, but we're getting there. We're learning to balance our family dynamics and to support each other through the challenges. So, yeah, things are looking up. My mother-in-law is respecting our boundaries, Melody is thriving, Thomas is growing, and my husband and I are stronger than ever. It's not always going to be smooth sailing, but I'm confident that we can handle whatever comes our way, as long as we do it together. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Have you considered family counseling? It might help to have a neutral third-party guide the conversation about boundaries. Kudos on working on communication with your hubby and tackling your anxiety. Keep at it, and remember, it's okay to stand your ground. Comment 2. Why not create a family rules document? It can outline what's okay and what's not for the grandparents. This way, everyone's on the same page, and it's less personal, more about the kids' well-being. Keep up the therapy. It's great you're taking steps to manage stress. Now, for the next story. I, 38-year-old female, broke up with my boyfriend Joey, 40-year-old male, because I feel lonely within the relationship. He makes zero effort to help me feel appreciated, and I've had 2 situations in which I've realized that he doesn't see me as a priority. The first one was that I have anxiety and closed spaces make me really nervous. I was in a stressful situation, and that obviously spiked my uneasiness when I had to enter an enclosed area. Of course, I could leave, but I needed to complete a procedure, so I had to stay. Because I've always been there for Joey, I felt comfortable texting him and letting him know how I felt. He didn't reply until 3 hours later and simply said, "Oh shoot, just scream and cry until your fit is over with." I was very confused by the fact that once we talked, he said he was busy and never addressed what happened. Second, my family sold 2 buildings that were a burden. I took on the responsibility of emptying both properties, unwinding my parents' business, helping them move out of town, getting everyone a health plan, etc., while they focused on other things that needed their attention. It wasn't horrible, but it is time-consuming. So, I dealt with my career, my kids, and with people hiring cleaning companies or someone to help empty out the properties. It took me almost a year, and never once did he offer to keep me company. Info. One of the buildings is in a secluded area, and driving away at night could be kind of scary. I enabled a small living space to sleep over if it gets too late to drive home while I straighten things out. I'll admit that the area isn't picture perfect, but it has utilities, some furniture, and kitchen and bedroom basics. Of all the things he could have said, he called my place ugly and tacky and cheap, immediately commenting that he could never bring friends over. I was very hurt, but didn't say anything until sometime later. His answer was more a justification than an apology. I had my space professionally cleaned, but the floors are stained, and investing wasn't an option. I made time for us, listened to his work-related problems, but wasn't taken out on dates or allowed to tell him when I was feeling less than happy with my health. His response was to criticize my family, despite me opening up about my reasons to help them with their burdens. This is where I began to dislike him as a person, and I told him since all he talked about was that he expected me to get a cut from the sales of the properties. We had planned a Thanksgiving dinner with his family. I said I would join, but only after I spent time with my kids and my family. My kids would spend the night with my parents so that they could spend more time with my sister's children, so I would get back home after dinner with Joey's family. I would go see Joey at night for his family's dinner. My family always serves turkey by lunchtime. I agreed to bring the soda and fricassee turkey. His family is big, but he asked me to bring some alcohol and bring the soda. This was 1 week before the event. I'm on my way, and he called asking me to bring a pie from the pastry shop. I was mortified that he already checked that it was open, and I felt pressured. Then he asked me to bring a few bottles of a specific wine. Honestly, I'm noticing that I'm already over $280, which I consider to be a lot for a guest. He called again, and I called him out and mentioned that I had made some seat placement ornaments and would love to have a chance to sit down and write each person's names. He broke my heart when he said, "Oh no," and scorned my gift for being homemade, and that he meant no offense, but in other words, he preferred his family get commercial ornaments. Info: I own a very small online shop. I sell these things. They were handmade for his family and could be used as a Christmas ornament. I know maybe I was wrong, but I exploded. He didn't pay for anything that I was bringing and was insulting me. I immediately turned around and told him I wasn't going. I was too embarrassed to tell my family, so I ended up donating the turkey and the pie. I broke up with him, nevertheless. He said I left his family without a turkey. I honestly find it very hard to believe that his family would rely on a newcomer for their entire Thanksgiving dinner. This morning, I told him that I can't be with him, and the fact that he's so preoccupied with my family shows his parents did a very poor job raising him. I've noticed that he wants to give to his family, but resents me and other exes for taking care of their own. Also, he's of no help, and while I'm hurt, I've decided that he's not up to my level of dedication, so please never call me again. His friends have tried to contact me, but I've blocked them. Now I'm a bit surprised at what I did, and I'm wondering if I was too harsh. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. That isn't a partnership. That is more along the lines of a parent-child relationship. You deserve someone who loves and appreciates you, not someone who sees you as an ATM and therapist. Comment 2. Not the idiot, and the only thing you could have done better is breaking up with him sooner. He's the only one who should be feeling guilty. Now, for the update. Thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a wild few days since I decided to break up with Joey, and a lot has happened. I thought I'd share how things have unfolded since then. The day after I told Joey it was over, he tried to call me several times. I didn't answer because I needed space to process everything. I was still reeling from the realization that I had been so undervalued in our relationship. I spent the day with my kids, trying to distract myself with their laughter and the chaos of their games. It helped, but the hurt was still there, like a dull ache. On the second day, I woke up to a text from Joey. He said he was sorry and that he didn't realize how his actions had affected me. He asked if we could meet and talk things over. I was hesitant, but a part of me wondered if maybe, just maybe, he had finally understood. So, I agreed to meet him for coffee the next morning. The coffee shop was quiet when I arrived, and Joey was already there, looking anxious. We ordered our drinks, and then we sat down at a corner table. The conversation started awkwardly, with both of us tiptoeing around the issues. But then, Joey opened up. He told me about his fears of not being good enough and how he always felt the need to impress his family. He admitted that he had taken me for granted and that he was truly sorry. I listened, feeling a mix of emotions. It was the first time Joey had ever been so vulnerable with me. I started to soften, thinking that maybe we could work things out. But then, he said something that stopped me in my tracks. He told me that he had expected me to get a cut from the sale of my family's buildings because he was in debt. He had been counting on that money to bail him out. I was stunned. All the understanding and sympathy I had started to feel evaporated. I realized that Joey's apology wasn't about me or our relationship. It was about his financial problems. I felt used and manipulated. I told him that there was no way we could get back together and that I needed someone who valued me for who I am, not for what I could provide. Joey didn't take it well. He became defensive and tried to justify his actions, but I wasn't having any of it. I left the coffee shop with a heavy heart but also with a sense of clarity. I knew I had made the right decision to end things. Later that day, I received a call from a mutual friend. She told me that Joey had been talking about our breakup and was painting me as the bad guy. He had told everyone that I had left him in a tough spot financially and that I was heartless. I was furious. I had been nothing but supportive and understanding, and this was how he repaid me. I decided to confront Joey about it. I called him and asked him why he was spreading lies about me. He denied it at first, but when I told him about the call from our friend, he finally admitted it. He said he was hurt and that he didn't know how else to cope. I told Joey that I didn't want anything to do with him anymore and that he needed to stop talking about me to our friends. I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of anger and relief. It was over, truly over. The next day, I focused on myself and my kids. We spent the day at the park, and I watched them play, feeling grateful for their presence in my life. They were my priority, and I knew that I would do anything for them. As the sun set, I received a notification on my phone. It was a message from Joey's sister. She told me that Joey had been in an accident and was in the hospital. My heart sank. Despite everything, I still cared about him. I went to the hospital, unsure of what I would find. When I got there, Joey's sister was waiting for me. She hugged me and thanked me for coming. She led me to Joey's room, and I saw him lying there, looking pale and fragile. Joey opened his eyes when he saw me, and a tear rolled down his cheek. He reached out for my hand, and I took it, feeling a rush of emotions. He whispered an apology, and I could see the sincerity in his eyes. I stayed with Joey until he fell asleep, and then I left the hospital, feeling a strange sense of peace. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew that I had grown from this experience. I had learned to stand up for myself and to recognize my worth. And that was something no one could take away from me. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. You made the right call, but if you're second-guessing, maybe jot down how you felt during those incidents. Seeing it on paper can reaffirm your decision and help you process. Also, consider reaching out to a therapist to navigate the emotional aftermath and the growth you're experiencing. Comment 2. Hey, you listened to your gut and that's huge. It's tough when someone doesn't step up, but you're showing your kids what self-respect looks like. Keep focusing on your well-being and those kiddos. You're setting a strong example, and that's something to be proud of. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.